The RMS Titanic was heralded as the pinnacle of maritime engineering, deemed unsinkable by its builders and the press. Its 16 watertight compartments led to widespread confidence in its safety. However, this overconfidence masked critical design flaws. The ship's construction prioritized luxury over functionality, and the belief in its invincibility led to complacency. This false sense of security set the stage for one of history's most tragic disasters. Despite its massive size, the Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for just over half of its passengers and crew. This decision was driven by cost-cutting and aesthetic concerns, as more lifeboats would have cluttered the promenade deck. The British Board of Trade regulations, outdated and inadequate, did not require enough lifeboats for all aboard. This fatal oversight would prove catastrophic when disaster struck. On the night of April 14, 1912, the Titanic received multiple iceberg warnings from nearby ships. However, these warnings were either ignored or not relayed to the bridge. Captain Edward Smith, eager to maintain the ship's speed and set a transatlantic record, chose not to alter course. This complacency and prioritization of speed over caution directly led to the fatal collision. At 11:40 p.m., the Titanic struck an iceberg. The ship's steel hull, though strong, was not designed to withstand such an impact. The iceberg scraped along the starboard side, puncturing multiple compartments. The damage was severe, and water began flooding the ship at an alarming rate. The collision exposed critical structural vulnerabilities in the Titanic's design, sealing its fate. The Titanic's watertight bulkheads, designed to contain flooding, were flawed. They did not extend high enough, allowing water to overflow into adjacent compartments. As the ship tilted, water cascaded from one section to the next, accelerating the sinking. This design flaw, combined with the severity of the damage, made it impossible for the Titanic to stay afloat. The evacuation of the Titanic was chaotic and poorly managed. Lifeboats were launched half-empty, as crew members were unsure of their capacity and feared the boats would buckle under weight. Passengers, initially unaware of the severity of the situation, hesitated to board. This delay and inefficiency in the evacuation process significantly increased the death toll. The Titanic's distress signals were mishandled, delaying rescue efforts. Distress rockets fired into the night sky were misinterpreted by nearby ships as celebratory flares. The wireless operators, overwhelmed by the volume of messages, failed to convey the urgency of the situation. This communication breakdown left the Titanic isolated in its final hours. As the Titanic sank, its structural integrity failed. The ship broke apart under the immense pressure, with the stern rising vertically before plunging into the icy Atlantic. Passengers and crew were thrown into the freezing water, where hypothermia quickly set in. The poor quality of the ship's steel and rivets contributed to its rapid collapse. Many of the Titanic's lifeboats were launched far below capacity, leaving hundreds stranded on the sinking ship. Crew members feared overloading the boats, and some passengers refused to leave their loved ones. This inefficiency in evacuation procedures resulted in unnecessary loss of life, as many could have been saved. The sinking of the Titanic led to widespread outrage and investigations. Official inquiries in both the US and UK highlighted the ship's design flaws and the crew's inadequate response. New maritime safety regulations were introduced, including requirements for sufficient lifeboats and continuous radio watches. However, these lessons came too late for the 1,500 lives lost.